Welcome to Friendship Friday. My name is Mark Long, rector of the parish of St Andrew in Newlands, Cape Town. Firstly, my apologies that there was no Wednesday walk this week. It got rather overridden by a funeral and planning for another funeral. And by the time the day ended, I realized I hadn't got around to having a walk with you. So sorry about that. Last Friday, I suggested that it was important that we are friends with life. And I'd like to continue that theme today with perhaps a slightly different focus. And that has to do with the fact that life is beginning to open up again. We are in level 2 in the South African context. There's talk of us shifting towards level 1. And although we don't yet know what that means, we will discover when it happens. But what it does suggest is that there is renewed opportunity in life. We're needing to re-engage and just really begin to look for the opportunities that exist and embrace those, and to do so with courage. You're in no doubt aware that Padraig O Tuma's book Daily Prayer with the Coromela community has been something that I've journeyed with over these last 5 months, and that has had phrases that each day have been encouraging. And the phrases that have stood out this week, in fact, the opening phrase of the morning prayer, which says, "We begin our day alone, honoring this life with all its potentials and possibilities." And waking up this morning, that just really struck me once again, that life is full of potentials and possibilities. Some of those potentials will be realized. Some of those possibilities will be turned into realities. Others of them will drift on by, and we will miss that particular bus. But there'll be another one along, and we will have, again, other opportunities and potentials to embrace. But what I find important about this coming in the context of morning prayer is that it talks to our spirituality and the attitude with which we approach life. That it really is, from a faith perspective, not ignoring that which is difficult and tough and hurtful and breaking in our lives, but always looking for the sign of light, always seeking to nurture life and potential and possibility wherever we find it. And somehow holding that balance, one of not pretending that life isn't difficult, so we hold that in one hand. But sometimes if we overhold that, it really can drag us down. And actually looking for that light. And sometimes the pile in our hand of pain is really big, and the potentials and hopes and light in either hand seem really small. But it's amazing the impact of the insignificant, particularly when the insignificant is light-filled and hope-filled. It lifts us up. It enables us to rise above whatever the struggles of life and the difficulties of life at the time may be. And there can be no doubt that the pandemic and the months that lie behind us, lockdown and all the implications of that for many, loss of employment, loss of income, or at least reduced income, an ability to not be able to socialize as we were used to doing that, to go out into the world with a certain level of anxiety each time, in terms of both perhaps contracting the virus and passing it on. Although our different personalities, of course, react differently to these realities. But my challenge this morning is for each one of us to really commit to embrace, both seeking out and then embracing the potentials and possibilities of the day, of life itself. And in doing that, also having the courage when necessary to acknowledge that there is disappointment. And, part of the morning prayer a bit further goes on to say, God, help us to embrace possibility, respond graciously to disappointment, and to hold tenderly those we encounter. Help us to be fully present to the day. But I think what's important for me there is just the acknowledgement that there are times where we do embrace the possibility and it doesn't actually work out. and we're disappointed. And the temptation in that context is then to say, when future possibilities arise, we almost avoid them because we want to avoid the pain and we want to avoid the difficulty that disappointment can bring. But of course, if we look back over our lives, we will see those times where potential and possibility has not worked out and we've been left disappointed, perhaps even really broken by that. But we can also look back and see where possibility and potential, we embraced it and it worked out well. And it's been something that has been life-giving in our experience of life. And I would again invite you to hold on to those moments and let the pain and difficult moments drift and not be directive to how we live in this present moment, in this day, and go forward with that. I've also been reading some Richard Rohr, which happens from time to time. And just a lovely phrase that I came across a few days ago. He spoke about the Great Plains warriors, and he said they would say to their sons first thing in the morning, "It is a good day to do great things." It is a good day to do great things. And it struck me that again, a wonderful example of starting the day with every intention to embrace the possibilities, to embrace the opportunities that God puts before us, that life puts before us. And to have the courage again to embrace those and to walk with those and to trust that God is with us. Whether or not we succeed or fail, God is present. And each opportunity, each possibility is a space in which we can grow and develop and mature. And often our growth happens when we are disappointed, when these opportunities don't happen. And strangely, that is the point of growth. When it does come together, we ride that wave. It's a point of real goodness and often excitement and joy. And we need a lot of that in our lives. But to trust that where things haven't worked out in the past, where things are not working out, particularly as we would like to see them working out at the moment, God's Spirit is working in our lives. And there is some very deep nurturing happening in the midst of the pain and disappointment and heartache that goes with that. So let us see today, let us see the weekend ahead, let us see the hopeful shift to level 1 as an opportunity to do great things. And my prayer is that the Spirit of God would be that enlivening force within us, and that we would continue, both as individuals, but as families too, as communities, and as a nation, to go from strength to strength.